Awesome. So thank you everyone for joining. We're here today with Marie Saba. Marie is a cookbook author, an author of a gift book with Familias, a freelance content creator, and her creations have been featured in numerous media outlets from Bon Appetit, Food and Wine Magazine, The Rachel Ray Show, Martha Stewart Show, and so much more. She is going to help you guys cultivate your creativity today. So I'm going to let Marie take over, and I hope you guys all enjoy.
Thank you, Ashley. And thanks everyone for coming today. Thanks Familias for hosting. It just feels good to be in a place where we can just kind of sit and learn a few things. The world feels so hectic, so it feels good to just kind of be in a still, quiet space for a minute. So I'm glad y'all are here. I do have, there should be a Dropbox link available where I have an outline that you can print out if you want to take some notes. Or just to look back for reference. I have that printed out and I'll be looking down at that as we go. So if you see me looking down some, I'm looking at notes to try to keep us on task so I can get as much in this webinar as possible within the 45 minutes that we do have today. So the goal today is to provide you with some really practical tips to make your life easier, to help you understand Reels a little better, and to kind of foster some creativity. So along those lines, there's 3 areas we're going to talk about. The first is fostering creativity. And it's especially when you're feeling kind of stuck or overwhelmed. And creativity is not some like esoteric concept. It's actually what will set you apart in this very hectic world. And so it is something that I think we do need to focus on first today. Second, we'll touch on book publishing and PR. And this can be helpful for anyone, no matter where you are in the book process, or maybe you're not even thinking about a book, that's okay too. We'll talk a bit about pitching a book and then promoting it. And if you have follow-up questions afterward, if you have specific questions related to your book or the process, you can always email me and I'm happy to be a resource going forward. Next, we'll move over to social media, and specifically we'll talk about Reels. And I'm going to show you how I film my content, the equipment I use. In the outline, I've got a link to the adjustable camera arm that I do use. So hopefully that's just helpful. You can find something that works. And some of my equipment will apply specifically to food, photography, and filming, but it can also apply to, regardless of any area that you're in, this can also work for you. So and all of it's designed to be very practical, and hopefully you can put it into place immediately and see some changes and start improving your content. So let's get started. So first, creativity. Creativity, I think at a basic level, is doing something in a new way. It's presenting information in a new way. And it doesn't necessarily mean you're artistic or you're left brain or you have a certain career. It just means that you find solutions or present information in a new way. And so where do we get creativity? As it turns out, we're born with it. There was a study done on NASA engineers where they wanted to determine their creative potential, and the people who created that study then went and applied the same study to preschoolers, and it turned out that 98% of preschoolers are considered creative geniuses. So then they applied the same study to a group of adults, and the adults, 2% were creative geniuses. So what that says to me is that we are born with it, and we've just kind of unlearned it, or we've forgotten how to access it, or we need some help kind of fostering it. And so that really is what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to give you 4 ways to really help you foster creativity, especially when you're feeling stuck or overwhelmed, which is hard not to feel that way with the world the way it is, and everything that's happened over the past few years. So keep these in mind when you're feeling a little bit stuck. And these are things that I use and have used for all of my work. So hopefully they'll help you too. First, so 4 ways to foster creativity. The first is to lean in to whatever you think is keeping you from being creative. And for me, that was, I remember when my kids were younger, I was kind of a newer mother, and I kept thinking I need to have a break from motherhood so I can focus on my career. I need, like these 2 things were separate. and that kids were actually kind of a hindrance to what I wanted to do professionally. But what I've learned is that now my entire career is because of my children. This book would not be here had it not been for my children. And I'll tell you a brief story about that. My children are walking in as I speak here. So that's okay. I'm going to lean into that. And there they are. And they're part of what makes what I do work. So this book, actually, my kids, they were a little bit younger, first grade preschool, and we needed to get Valentines for their classes. You have to get 25 Valentines for the whole class. So we went to the grocery store. If you're a mom, you'll know what I mean. I was pushing him in one of those giant car carts, exhausted, probably looking around for Valentines for their class. And we looked around, we didn't like any of them. They were things that they didn't really relate to. It was like Power Rangers. My son was not into that. So we said, you know what, forget it. Let's go home. We'll make our own Valentines. So we went home and we got out these little letter cookies I had, and we made our own little Valentines. This one says, we make a great pair. This one was, love you very much. And I posted those to my Instagram after we made them. And I think within 4 hours, Bon Appetit magazine emailed me and said, we would love to do a story on your food Valentines. Are you doing any more? And so we said, let's do more. And so we made more. And so now I've done hundreds. There's over 100 in this book. And that has, it's just an example of how, something that I was kind of wanting to avoid. If you really lean into that and just go with it, there's a lot of opportunity for creativity there, especially with children, given that they are the creative geniuses that they are. So whatever you're thinking is keeping you from being creative, I want you to consider that it may actually be a source of creativity, and really kind of lean into that. And yes, even laundry. Hello, Marie Kondo. So it's just really lean into that and see what you get. Now, second way to foster creativity, and this is a little bit related, is let your mind wander. I think forcing creativity will really get you stuck and feel frustrated. And so I've heard numerous people who have said, I thought of my next great idea. I was in the shower, I was walking the dog, I was in the middle of Savasana at yoga. So whatever it is, you have to really let your mind kind of be free and let your subconscious and unconscious just kind of work with the problems that you're trying to solve or the thing you're trying to think of. So walk the dog, go to yoga, as you're doing the dishes, doing laundry, let your mind wander in the shower. I'll give you another example, quick example of how that applied in my life. I was trying to think of another pun on this Valentine's theme, and I knew I wanted to do a pun that said, be mine. I mean, that's such a classic Valentine's statement. I wanted to say, be mine. I couldn't think of any food that would work for that. And my daughter was begging me at the time, please come read me a book, please come read me a book. And I was like, no, I got to think of a pun. Well, I went and read her a book. I said, okay, I'll go read you the book. Sat down. She handed me Fancy Nancy, if you know the book. I opened it up, and within the first or second page, Fancy Nancy's best friend is Brie. So there it was. There I had it. Brie mine. So now Brie mine is in my book, and it was all because of Fancy Nancy. I went and just kind of, there had this thing that I wanted to solve, something I wanted to think of. And then I just kind of let it sit and kind of marinate in there for a while and see if it comes to you when you're just kind of interacting with the world around you. So I just think your mind is more powerful than when you're not trying to force it. So the lesson is to just, when you want an answer, just kind of sit with it for a bit and, do some laundry or do some dishes and see what comes to you. Third way to foster creativity is to let worlds collide. As you grow up, you're taught to, separate certain things like food and humor. They should not go together. You shouldn't play with your food. You shouldn't make art with your food. And so I'm here to tell you that you can go ahead and break some of those rules. And if you let you know, food and words and food and humor, you let those things kind of start colliding. That's what's interesting. That's what people will notice, is something that they haven't seen before. And it's a unique kind of combination. And if you think of some of the food TikToks and stuff that have gone viral, one was the baked feta pasta. Well, for me, feta was always something that you just sprinkle on salads, like a Greek salad. It wasn't something that you baked, but here we are baking feta pasta. So you're kind of letting those worlds collide. Another one, a recent one, was the peanut butter Rice Krispie dipped chocolate rice cake. Not something we've seen before, you know, spreading peanut butter and dipping it. And so we're letting those kind of like two worlds collide again. So again, kids are really good at this. One example I always think of is my children. Every time I serve mashed potato, it becomes a volcano. So I let them do that, you know, and they enjoy it. I like to watch it because they're letting this mashed potatoes is becoming this mountain, this volcano. And that's kind of what we need to learn to do in our own life with our own work, is just kind of let things that don't necessarily go together collide, and then kind of unlearn some of the things that we were told to separate. The fourth thing for fostering creativity is to reconnect with your purpose. And this is the biggest one for me, the most helpful one for me, when I get questions on my Instagram or email saying, do you have any recipes for this? Do you have any suggestions on how I can do this? Or when I get a brand that says, we will need you to create a recipe with using these items, that really ignites a fire in me, because it's an actual specific problem to solve. And if creativity is solving problems in a new way, first step is to get the problem. So to, you know, kind of encourage that, to help you find that purpose. And this applies if you're not, even if you're not doing food, if you're like a parenting specialist, you know, getting questions from people like, I'm having so much trouble with this, or I need help with this, just getting those questions. So I would really encourage on your, however you connect with people, whether it's Facebook or Instagram, is to really encourage people to ask questions, thank them for their questions, answer their questions, because that can be a real, you know, like it'll ignite that fire of creativity and kind of connect you with your purpose and why you're doing what you're doing. So yeah, that's all good for inspiration. The final thing I do want to mention is that while creativity is wonderful, and all of these will help you foster, if you have experienced anything like grief, trauma, or loss, what I've learned is to be very gentle with yourself. And with the past 2 years of everything has gone on, I'm sure many of you have. And so myself included, I lost my mom actually 3 months before my book came out. And my creativity was gone, and I could not generate it. And I had to just learn that this is going to just take some time, and I'm going to go to yoga, and I'm going to get some grief counseling and do some things to take care of myself before I can start generating again. And and since then, I have started to use these 4 ideas that I've given you to restart creativity. So if you're one of those people that feels like, I'm not creative, I don't have any, I've been there. After my mom passed away, I was there, and I felt like I do not have any creativity, but I was able to restart it using these techniques, and also by just really taking care of myself. So I do encourage you to do that if you're feeling sort of a creative drought, is take care of yourself. All right, so that is our discussion of creativity, and I would love to hear from you. If you have other questions about that, always feel free to email me. Like I said, I appreciate your questions. They help me feel more creative, and so feel free to email anytime. My contact information is on the outline, and we will also be looking at the chat questions at the end and answer those. So stay tuned for those, and feel free to put more questions in the chat if you have them. So now we're moving on to book proposals and PR, or book publishing. I did get a couple questions before the webinar saying, how do you pitch a book? And first, let me quickly tell you my story about this book. This book was different. In this case, the editor-in-chief of Familius was following my Instagram for quite a while. And so at one point she just emailed me and said, would you like to do a book? And I said, I would love to do a book. So that's how this book came about. And I realize that's not at all helpful to any of you who are wanting to pitch a book, but I want you to know that that's how this one came about. But I have done it. I did do a cookbook in 2008, which I did pitch from scratch to a publisher. So I do have experience doing that, and I'll tell you how that process works briefly here. The first thing I would suggest is you can find any publisher. Smaller publishers are great. Local publishers are can be really receptive to local authors. So if you have publishers in your state, seek out one of those publishers online and see if they have book proposals, is what it's called. They'll have a PDF that you can download, and it's probably 15 pages or more, and it has all the questions that they want to know about your book. And you will have to fill that out, and this is your pitch. And this book proposal will convince the publisher that your book is economically viable and that the world needs your book. And it includes things like the title, the table of contents, a summary, who's going to buy it, why they're going to buy it, what's it, other books it compares to, how is it different from what's already out there, how is it new, how does it, all of that. It's everything about your book. So this is a super, super helpful guide in knowing exactly what publishers are going to want to know when you pitch your book to them. And this is the pitch. And even if you get a proposal from one publisher and decide to use another publisher later, I think it will be similar information. So just find a proposal and start working from that. And that should get you started on the right track. And let me mention on the book proposal, don't work from scratch on a lot of it. Of course, the table of contents and the outline and the content, all of that will need to work from scratch. But on the part where it says, why does your audience want this book? Why, who is going to buy this book? What other books does this compare to? What I did, and I did have to fill out one of those marketing plans with that kind of information for this book. And what I did was I went on Amazon. You Google a book that is similar to yours. So I looked at some other food pun books, and I looked at what the reviews said about it. I read reviews from customers, what they liked, what they didn't like, how this book was, how these other books were described and reviewed. And then I differentiated mine. So this book is new because there's no other food puns out there with food, actual food in them, actual food photography, full color. There's no other family friendly giftable books. There's no, so I went through and everything that was different about my book, I wrote that down. And so those are hard to come up with just from scratch. So I'm saying, go to Amazon, look at other books, look at other reviews, and use those ideas to write yours. It can be very, very helpful in reading, because you'll read a review from someone and it says exactly what they didn't like about the book that's like yours. So you can say, my book is not like that. My book is like this. So it's really helpful to understand what your audience actually likes and doesn't like from reading those reviews. So huge source of information on Amazon, the reviews or publishing reviews of similar books. So use that as a resource. I had another question I had is, do you need an agent? Do you have an agent? I do not have an agent. I had one briefly. This was years ago when I was doing my cookbook. I did not find it helpful at all. Also, wouldn't want to, I just didn't find it helpful, and it wasn't helpful enough to want to give them a cut of whatever I was getting. So also, I found most of the agents that I talked to, they were really eager to work with people who had already made it. They weren't really as interested in working with someone starting from scratch. So just keep that in mind. Some people may have a different opinion, have success with an agent. I did not, and don't use one. So it is absolutely not necessary. You can directly pitch your book to the publisher with a proposal. Most publishers, if they're accepting outside proposals. So let's see. The last thing I want to mention is, if you want to publish a book, or if you are in the process of publishing a book, or if you already have published a book, this could be really helpful to you. I looked at some PR companies. They contacted me about working with me promoting my book. And at least one that I talked to said, no, we only work with people 5 months before the book comes out. We would never work with people after the book's already come out. Well, which was not helpful for me because the book had already come out. So not helpful. And the other companies that I talked to, they wanted, say you had to buy, like a 5-month plan. And that really wasn't financially feasible for me. That was just way too expensive. And so what I found was a company called Ascot Media, and they are in the outline with the email of Trish Stevens, the principal there. And you can buy a month of PR from them. And I found that much more economically feasible. And what they would do was they help you write a press release. They send the press release out to 10,000 people for 4 weeks. And that was so much work off my shoulders that I didn't have to do. And what I did was there's International Pun Day. So about a month before International Pun Day, we wrote a press release about this book relating to International Pun Day and sent that out to the 40,000 or some odd sources. And I was reviewed on numerous blogs, reviewed by the New York Book Review, Midwest Book Review, sorry, not New York, made several podcast appearances, several TV appearances, several radio shows. So it was, I felt like I really got results and it was really worth the money, and they were delightful to work with. So if you're looking for somebody with that kind of a, that kind of a resource where you can buy a monthly plan and just either get some help a couple weeks before your book comes out, you can always get help 2 years after your book comes out, as long as it's still relevant. And my suggestion would be just to center your press release and your month that you purchase, center that around something that's really relevant to your book. Like for me, International Pun Day was a day that people would want to talk about a pun book. So look at your calendar and figure out the best time so it'll be really used, seem really relevant to the people that are receiving the book. So that's it on book publishing and PR. Again, feel free to email me with more detailed questions. Happy to answer those and be a resource. Okay, next on to Instagram Reels. And mainly, Instagram Reels. We'll talk about some tips, tricks, and tools, because I know this is incredibly frustrating to have a platform that goes from photo, where probably a lot of you have been successful, and then to switch to Reels and feel like you're just totally lost and frustrating and not getting the kind of engagement that you want. So I'm going to start by showing you, let's see if I can make all this work. I'm going to take you on a quick tour of my setup, which is right behind me, a really small area. You don't need a lot of space. I'm going to take you on a little tour over there real quick. Let me start. Let me this will take me a couple seconds to turn off this sound here. Let me see if I can switch. That was not it. Okay. Leave computer audio. There we go. Okay. So now I'm on my phone. I'm just going to walk us over. I'm going to flip the camera around. Let's see. Okay. And there's the back of me too. Okay. Flip the camera. There we go. Okay, good. So this is my little area where I film all of my food reels and do my food photography. Hope y'all can hear me okay. And you can see here, this is the adjustable arm I was talking about. It connects down here onto really anything that's, it can adjust, you can loosen it, you can attach it to almost any kind of tabletop. So this is just a booze boost block butcher board, and I've got that attached to that there. And then this has, you know, you can adjust it. This you can adjust, and then the phone just connects right in here and it holds it stable. So then you can put that in and film reels right here, and my hands are free and I can do everything I want right here and the camera doesn't move. The other important elements are I've got natural light coming in here. I've also got an overhead light I can pop on real quick. There's an overhead light, so there's some more light. And a natural light seems to be really the preference in food reels now, and I think it's beautiful as well. So natural light if you have it. This here is just a, it actually looks like marble in the photo or in the video, but it's actually just a bulletin board. I can send you the link for that. I got it on Amazon, and it's my background. So, I mean, this is it, y'all. It's a cutting board, it's an adjustable arm, and then some sort of a background there. It's very simple, nothing fancy, very small space. But the key is, I think, is to have a space like this set up. Here I have like some different towels that I use, and it's all just right here. And so when you want to film something, you just pop over and do it. You don't have to start from scratch, setting up a bunch of lights, setting up other things. This really helps just kind of like the mental, otherwise everything feels too hard. It just, the mental part of it is like, okay, I can just take it over there and film. So that's my setup. Just wanted to show you that. And that works really well for food. This also could work if you're doing your face. I mean, that works fine. And then this also actually, I detach this, and then you can attach it over here on my stove. It attaches right up here, and then it hangs down like this. So then you get the overhead shot on the stove. So love that adjustable arm. So I really wanted to show you that, and I have the link for you on that. Okay. Coming back to my other camera now, we just join audio. Mute. Okay, I think we're back. So that was the setup. Yes, okay. And now for editing, I want to show you the app that I use. This, I'm going to share my screen with my iPhone so you can see this. Sure. Let's see here. Share. Okay, sorry. 1 second. Okay. And so what I'm going to show you is the app that I use for editing. It's called Splice App. And it is, you can do video, music, text, voiceover, everything. So I do everything there. I do not edit in Instagram or in TikTok. Just a second, the screen mirroring's not happening yet. Hopefully it will. Wow. Let's see. It is not connecting. Really want to show you how to edit in Splice App. So just give me a second here. I'll try one more time. Screen. Okay, stop share. Let me try a new share. iPad. That works. Well, I'm just going to wait and see if it connects. And in the meantime, so Splice App is about $3 a week, I think, which is pricey. But it is worth it for me because I do so many reels. I use it multiple times a week, sometimes multiple times a day. So, and I found it to be really reliable and really consistent. So it's called Splice App. And what you can do is just import your, you'll go to media, add your media, then you can add your music. And that's also, I had a lot of questions on transitions. Where do I get my transitions? All the transitions are in Splice App. You just slide them in between your different videos. So I'm hoping to show them and just not happening here. Let's see. Started screen sharing. This is not screen sharing. I'm going to keep trying. So basically the important thing is don't edit in the Instagram app unless you're using a saved audio from Instagram. If you know Instagram, there's a way you can save the audio. You see one that you like, you can save it. If you're going to use a saved audio, you've got to edit that in the app. But generally the saved audio is pretty short. And so it's really generally only a very short video. But if you're doing a longer video, which is a lot of what I do that in the Splice app and add my own music there, add my own text there, add my own voiceover there. So do that all over there. You definitely don't want to be editing in the TikTok app because you're going to get the TikTok watermark on your Instagram reels, and that doesn't look very professional. And then it also, I think it gets downgraded by Instagram if it has a watermark on it. So definitely want to avoid editing on the Instagram, the TikTok app. Try one more time here. Let's see. Reconnect to Zoom. See if it works. Oh, one other big thing that I wanted to show you is, so someone asked about having like, how do you get quick content, quick, simple content? And one of those is to use live photos on your iPhone.
Progress.
Thing that might work in here. Okay. Share. Not look like it's working. That's super frustrating. Well, so let me just tell you about the live photos. What you can do is, I'll try to show you this way, is say you take a live photo, you can then save that as a video and it'll give you 3 seconds of content. So if you take a live photo, save 3 of those, you've got 9 seconds of content, and short is the way to go on Reels. So if I could show you an example here of a live photo. We went on a trip and I took a lot of live photos. So let's see here. Okay, so live photo would be like this. If you touch and hold, you can see you have a few seconds of video there for every live photo that you take. So what you're going to do is touch this button here and you scroll down and you can put save as video. It's right there, save as video. So you can save that as a video. And now you have a video that you can add to a reel. So I'll try to show you this way, my Splice app. This is the Splice app. We're going to touch on that. And these are some of my reels that I've made. You can do a new project. And so I'm actually going to take this chicken salad video that I made recently. So I'm going to take the chicken salad video and touch on that. That's going to be imported into this. They asked you the project. We'll put salad. And this is, do you want to animate the photos? Do you want the camera to move down the photos for you, which is great. So you can put yes if you're going to, this won't have any photos in it, but I always click yes. Then this is so important right here. It says, how do you want to format this video? You want to format it for TikTok? Do you want to format it for Instagram Reels or some other shape? And so I always format my Instagram Reels for Instagram Reels. And what that'll do is it'll show you where to keep your text and pictures. It shows you where the Instagram text is going to be, so you're not overlapping it. And it's the same for TikTok. It'll show you where their text is, so you're not overlapping it. So you go ahead and choose Instagram Reel. That's the format you want, and then push create. And then here is my video. The first thing I always do is you want to mute. Oops, sorry. First thing you want to do is just mute all clips. If you have background noise, you want to mute all that out. Sometimes if you want to hear the chopping, I've done that in some of my videos. If you want to hear the chopping, you don't have to mute it. You can just mute parts of it. But generally for me, I have with kids and a dog and a husband, I always have all this loud background noise. So always just mute clips is the first thing. Then here's the chicken salad video. Now what you can do is you can, oh, here we go. We'll tap on the video and then you can speed it up if you want. You can see that it says speed there. So if you want to do it really fast, you can speed it up and it'll all go really fast. Or if you want to slow it down, you can go down below 1. So you can change the speed there. And that's how I get, you know, faster if I'm doing something in really slow motion. I did a chia video, chia pudding. This is in very slow motion. I'll show you here. I have the video. This is music that I added just by touching music and adding music. And then this is text that I added up here just by touching text and adding the text. So I'm gonna let you see that real quick here. So you can see how it goes slow. Wise men say only fools rush in, but I can't help falling in love with you. So there's an example of one of the reels I created here, and I'm going to show you. So a transition is, so we go from the finished chia pudding, putting some berries on it, to starting to make the chia pudding, pouring the milk in. And so this right here, there's a transition there. And what that is this little thing, little space right there. And these are all the transitions you can choose from down here at the bottom. You can blur in and out. You can blur spin. If I click on blur spin, it'll spin it for me. So I think I just had it on crossfade, which is one of the just kind of a normal soft crossfade into the next one. But this is where you get all your fun transitions. They have glitch. They have a lens flare. I use that occasionally. You can click on that and it'll flare it out like that. So these are all there for you. You don't have to do anything. You just click on, you just go to the next transition. You can see there's some more there. You can click on this one and then choose a transition. I used crossfade for that. I wanted this video to be really, really soft and just kind of melt into each other. So that's where the crossfade is. So this is how you use the Splice app. Highly recommend it. And if you have more questions, I would be happy to help you as you're getting to use it. I think we're running out of time here. So really that is the main thing that I wanted to show you on that app. And the last thing I want to mention is how to get more engagement, get more notice, getting noticed more. You always want to reply to all the comments, including spam. I know it feels weird to reply to spam, just put thanks, but Instagram likes engagement. They like posts to have a lot of comments. So even when you get spam comments, go ahead and say, oh, thanks. And then, so reply to all your comments is the basic message there. Also, one thing that's a great way to get noticed is to repost other people's content in your stories. Love this, looks so good, want to try this. Repost people's content in your stories. It'll automatically give them credit and people love it. I mean, there's no reason not to do that. You should be doing that every single day. It gives you content to share in your stories and it makes other people feel really good. So definitely use that resource. You can also repost to your feed. Just be sure to give really clear credit to them so they feel like they're getting credit. You're not just using their content for your own purposes. Let's see, Canva app is great if you want to do text posts. I use Canva app, a free option, free template for this webinar. So Canva, if you don't use that, is great for any kind of text that you want to use. And I think text and photos still are good on Instagram. I think people actually kind of like the reprieve from all the videos. So still post those if you have something good to say. And another thing is to tag brands in your post. If you're using a Williams Sonoma bowl or you're using, a Wolf product or All Clad, go ahead and tag them in your posts. That gets their attention and helps you get noticed. So hopefully that helps. I'm going to try to peek at the chat here and see if I can see if there's any more questions. No, it looks like there's not any more questions. There's just the Dropbox link to my book, which I'd love for you to check out if you're like a good food pun book, and then also a link to the outline of everything we talked about today with links as well to my contact information and also the PR company and the adjustable camera arm. So I think that wraps it up today. Thank you all for coming. I really appreciate it. This was a joy to get to spread some information. So thank you. Thank you, Familias, for hosting.